I'm 16 years old, and in this video I'm going to be walking you through exactly how you can get your first SMMA client as a teen. Going to be breaking down the niche selection, how to optimize your profile, and the exact outreach script that you're going to need in order to land your first client. Without further ado, let's get into the video. The first thing that we're going to do is pick a niche, and when picking a niche, there's a way we can get an unfair advantage over every other niche. And in most cases, people usually go with car detailing, med spas, real estate agents, but what we don't understand about those niches is the ins and outs of the sales process because we don't have any resonation with them. Instead, if we pick a niche that we already understand the ins and outs of, in my example, that could be soccer schools, I have an unfair advantage when it comes to selling to these people because I already know everything that's going on. I know the pain points. I know exactly what to speak about, and the conversation would carry on super naturally. So in order to pick a niche, the first step that you're going to do is just list out all your previous work experience, hobbies, and interests. After that, we're going to look at those interests, and you're going to narrow down which ones can't be a business. And as an example, if something like ping pong appears in your list, just cross that out because there's no way we can service ping pong schools, and if we did, it would just be too complicated. After that, the next step is to look at these businesses we have and rank them from highest all the way down to the lowest in terms of how much we actually resonate with that niche. So with me, I would have soccer schools, restaurants, basketball schools, and the one I would move is restaurants because even though I worked at a restaurant as a dishwasher, it wasn't quite exactly a positive experience, so I wouldn't say it's a niche that I want to work with, even though I might have some form of resonation with it. So after that, we're going to be left with niches that we have resonation with that can be used as a viable business. And what we're going to do then is rank based on a few key metrics. The most important being that they have the actual buying power and that they're easy to contact. So if we're resonating with doctors, as an example, it might not be the best idea because doctors and surgeons are extremely difficult to get into contact with. They have receptionists, they have gatekeepers, and it's not going to be a fun time outreaching. Whereas with soccer schools, which were another option on my list, I know that the person running the Instagram account is most likely the person doing the checkbook. So I'll be able to get in contact with that person super easily and therefore be able to do my outreach effectively. And that is exactly how you pick a niche. So the biggest thing is to get the resonation and then look at which niche you can actually get into contact with. Now that we've got our niche down, it is time to pick our service. And this is super simple. It actually comes down to just one question. So I want you to take the niche that you've selected and determine whether it is a need or a want to the customers that are buying it. So as an example, if I had chosen pest control as my niche, do bed bugs in your house when you wake up or rats in your house when you wake up, is that a need or does it want? And most likely, depending on who you are, for most people that's going to be a need. So therefore it is under the need section, which is going to be serviced by Google Ads. And as an example, if I were to pick soccer schools, that is a want. You don't need to play soccer, you want to play soccer. So that would fall under the wants category. For the needs category, just again, we're going to be doing Google Ads. And for the wants category, it's going to be Facebook ads, short form content, and any other service like that. But for the most part, if it's a need, we're going to want to go with Google Ads. If it's anything else, we're going to want to go with, Facebook ad wants types category. And that is exactly how you can pick your service super quickly. It's that simple. So now that we have all the boring stuff down of starting an agency, it's time to get into the nitty-gritty of actually getting appointments, getting on sales calls with a prospect. And the first part that is often overlooked of this is profile optimization, which is essentially making your Instagram profile or Facebook profile look good enough for a prospect to actually respond. Because no matter how good your outreach is, how great you target people, how good your first message is, if your profile sucks, no one's going to respond. So I'm going to give you the exact play-by-play on how to make a great profile. Nothing fancy, because the real thing that drives the replies from the prospects is before you message them. So before you message a prospect, if you are to like 3 posts that they have up and leave a really good comment on one of their posts, your actual response rate is going to skyrocket with a good hook message. So to give you an example, I have a friend of mine who was reaching out to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu schools, and he himself is actually an MMA fighter, so the comments he left were super quality. If they were to talk about a kid's class, he would talk about how that relates to a story about him, and the person who sees that is going to think he's a completely organic person in combination with the actual super good profile he sets up. So as soon as they see his message in the inbox, they associate him as the guy who is commenting and supporting their page and nothing else. And by doing that, he got a lot of replies and actually ended up getting his first client in 8 hours of starting, which is absolutely unbelievable. And that is the importance of just sending out those interactions before you message them. I'd argue it's far more important than the script in most case scenarios. First things first is just the profile. I would do a headshot of you, just any images that you already have of you lying around. Make sure you can clearly see your face so that again we connect that human aspect with the prospect. Super simple. With the name, which is going to be the second, we just want to make sure we don't have any weird underscores and just use our real name ideally without any, underscores, dots, any weird capitalizations, stuff like that, just to make ourselves appear super normal, super human. The third thing is going to be the bio. And this is where I see a lot of people, try and be all edgy and stuff and put in a quote that doesn't really make sense, or you use initials that no one really knows. And this is a very, I guess, slept on and opportunity cost-esque decision, because if you can make your bio something like a quote that introduces the person into who you are, whereas, just putting in an initial doesn't really do anything, you can appear as a just super organic human from the jump. So as an example, I would put in my bio a quote about who I am and how I believe hard work is what humans are meant to do. And by seeing that, a prospect knows exactly who I am, what I stand for before they've even met me. Right? And that is very good in comparison to having a bio that just has some random initials in my school and maybe the year I graduate. The last part about optimizing your profile is going to be the posts. And the posts are something that a lot of people overthink, and allows them to get stuck at a certain barrier for too long of a time, honestly. And the best way to go ahead and optimize your posts are to just throw up what you think a normal person would throw up. So nothing, too fancy. Don't overthink this. Pictures with your friends, pictures with your family, vacations that you've been on. You can throw them up consecutively. You don't have to space the time between posting out. Doesn't matter how many likes or comments they get on it, as long as those posts are up and they reflect who you are as a human being. And you don't need to take any new photos. Just throw up whatever you got on your camera roll, because honestly, people aren't going to judge you as much as you judge yourself. The next thing is that your followers just don't matter. Anything above 10, 15 followers should be good. For reference, I was booking around 2 appointments a day having only 30 followers, which was, even surprising for me. The point is that followers don't matter. And as long as you look like a normal human being, you will get responses. So now is the part that you've all been waiting for on how to actually do the outreach to get those appointments and actually land your first client. And this is going to be extremely simple, and I'm going to go through it extremely quickly because I'm going to give you one recipe for success. And I'll let you know that everyone on SMMA YouTube is giving you a recipe for success. Everything works. But if you try and follow what everyone is doing, you're going to get none of the results. You have to pick one thing, and you have to do that one thing to your fullest ability. And by doing that, you are going to get results. But you cannot follow 8 recipes and get a good cake. You have to follow one recipe and get one cake. So that being said, the script is going to be a fundamental part of actually getting the replies, getting the appointments with your prospect, and it's super simple. The easiest way to do a script is to go ahead and be authentic. So the messages that I like to do are a hook message that goes along the lines of asking them a question about their business. So as an example, we had a friend in the painting niche, and his opener would be, hey, do you offer commercial or residential jobs, or do you do both? And by doing that, the prospect's going to see it, they're going to reply to it, and then after that, we're going to do what's called a 2-message hook, which would be the next message being a pitch saying, hey, full transparency, I'm a insert age/situation in the process of growing my business, was wondering if you'd be interested in having me work for free in order to generate you X result. And that is the script. So an example, mine could be, hey, my name's Alex. I'm a 16-year-old in the process of actually growing my business. Was wondering if you'd be interested in me bringing you new players for your soccer academy. And then after sending that message, keep it super brief, super concise. You're going to hit them up with a video message based on their response to that, whether you get a yes or a no. And the video message would just be a handheld video, you grabbing your phone, of just going like, hey, holding up a selfie, talking about who you are, everything you do, just like that. And that is actually the outreach script. Nothing fancy, because the real thing that drives the replies from the prospects is before you message them. So before you message your prospect, if you are to like 3 posts that they have up and leave a really good comment on one of their posts, your actual response rate is going to skyrocket with a good hook message. So to give you an example, I have a friend of mine who is reaching out to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu schools, and he himself is actually an MMA fighter, so the comments he left were super quality. If they were to talk about a kid's class, he would talk about how that relates to a story about him, and the person who sees that is going to think he's a completely organic person in combination with the actual super good profile he sets up. So as soon as they see his message in the inbox, they associate him as the guy who, is commenting and supporting their page and nothing else. And by doing that, he got a lot of replies and actually ended up getting his first client in 8 hours of starting, which is absolutely unbelievable. And that is the importance of just sending out those interactions before you message them. I'd argue it's far more important than the script in most case scenarios. So if you do that, if you have a good hook message, if you interact, if you have a great profile, you will get appointments. And when you get on those appointments, I want you to continue down this route of being honest, telling your story to people. And as soon as you do that and position yourself as just a kid trying to start his business, trying to, I guess, grow in the marketing world, you can easily land free trial clients the same way that I did. And what's great about this is that the younger you are, the more advantage that you have, because your story becomes more compelling and more relatable. And that is exactly how you can land your first free trial client as a teenager. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next video.